Hello and welcome. My name is Stacy Williams and I'm the caseworker at Waterford Youth Assistance. Waterford Youth Assistance is a nonprofit 501(c)(3) organization that provides prevention programs to the community. WYA's mission is to strengthen families and youth and reduce the incidence of juvenile delinquency, child abuse, and child neglect through community involvement. WYA's Family and Youth Education Committee is excited to announce their series of short educational videos for parents and youth to learn about a variety of topics impacting the Waterford community. Next, I would like to introduce Tracy Ross, our Family and Youth Chairperson.
Thank you, Stacy. Hi, my name is Tracy Ross, and today I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Lisa Kaplan, who will be providing a short educational video on vaping and marijuana. Lisa has been in the addiction field for 27 years, having worked at CARE of Southeastern Michigan as a clinician and as a program coordinator in the prevention department. She currently runs the community education department and serves as part of the clinical treatment team at Henry Ford Health System's Maple Grove Center in West Bloomfield. Thanks for being here today, Lisa. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you for having me. So I'm excited to share some information with parents today about vaping and marijuana. So vaping is a term used, introduced by the electronic nicotine delivery system industry to refer to any type of electronic vaporizer. So you're going to hear them called names like e-cigs and vapes and vape pens and vaporizers and e-hookahs. There's a lot of different names. And keep in mind that as time goes on, the names change, the terminology changes, and just as happens with many other drugs. So this term of vaping can incorrectly lead people to believe that using electronic vaporizers produces a harmless water vapor, but in reality, these devices produce potentially harmful aerosols that are inhaled into the lungs and exhaled into the environment. So you can vape nicotine and you can vape marijuana, but at this moment, we're just going to be talking about vaping in general. So what are these products? Well, they look like cigarettes, pens, thumb drives, personal vaporizers, take systems. So I'll show you a couple of them. These are very attractive colors. Okay, this can fit in the palm of a hand. Real small. Okay, and as we said, they're constantly changing. So if parents find something that looks a little unique, you want to question it further, but we'll talk about that later. So these products can be odorless, meaning that people can use them in a classroom, they can use them in a car, they can use them at home, and they're not very detectable. So you're going to hear the term juuling. Juul is the name of the company that creates these products. So you're going to hear people say, and these are Juuls, by the way. So you're going to hear people calling it juuling. So how do they work? Well, most have different components. So there's a cartridge or a reservoir which holds a liquid solution that has flavorings in it. There's a heating element, there's a power source, and there's a mouthpiece. So there's all different parts to the vaporizer, but they're all very different. Okay, so the problem is that 1 to 2 packs of cigarettes is equal to 20 to 40, I'm sorry, 1 to 2 packs of cigarettes is equal to 1 Juul pod in terms of the nicotine content. And nicotine is a very highly addictive drug. It can affect the developing brain. And most people know that the teens' brains are not developed fully until mid to late 20s. So someone who's introducing chemicals like nicotine into the body or brain before the age of 25 is impacting brain development and is putting a teen at a higher risk of addiction. So about 3 out of 4 teen nicotine smokers will be adult smokers. Okay, that's a pretty scary statistic. So what is in these products? So nothing safe, I can tell you that. So products like cancer-causing chemicals, organic compounds, ultrafine particles, heavy metals such as nickel, tin, and lead, flavorings such as diacetyl, which is a chemical related to a serious lung disease called popcorn lung. And also formaldehyde, acetone, isoprene, benzene, and a whole bunch of other chemicals that most people cannot pronounce. Okay, so really, really scary. So there's no such thing as a safe e-cigarette. People are told, teens are told, and it's advertised that it's safer than smoking, but this is not true. Anytime you're putting any type of chemical into your body and lungs, it is not safe. So that is not a true fact. Also, there have been no long-term studies. So vaping products came out, they were developed in China in 2004, and they came out in America, and there have been no long-term studies because it took about 30 years to determine that cigarettes cause cancer. We haven't had 30 years of time to determine how vaping these products are going to impact someone's lungs. So it's pretty scary that kids today, young people today, are actually guinea pigs. Okay, they're the ones being tested on it. And e-cigarettes are not approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration as a quit tobacco advice and shouldn't be marketed as such. But you're going to hear people say, if you want to get off cigarettes, switch to a vape. And that is not true. Okay, everybody knows that nicotine is addictive, but did you know it is the most addictive chemical there is? Really highly addictive. What it does is it activates the brain's reward circuits and releases a chemical called dopamine, which motivates a user to keep repeating the behavior, even though health risks are there. So it will affect a person's brain and body. It's pretty scary. So many people have read headlines, watched news reports. Right here in Michigan, we had a 15-year-old who was a Henry Ford patient who had a double lung transplant because he blew out his lungs due to vaping. And now prior to COVID, he went on the lecture circuit talking about this. So it's pretty frightening. There have been news stories, Facebook posts, all sorts of information to promote vaping and also to educate people about the dangers. So the ads that you see for vaping, next time you see an ad, pay attention. Who are they targeting? Are they targeting adults or are they targeting kids? And so the truth is they're targeting adults. And they have done away with some flavors. They had flavors that were cotton candy and strawberry and, pebbles and things like that because it's attractive to kids. So what are the consequences of vaping in Michigan? Well, under the age of 21, you cannot lawfully purchase, possess, or use any tobacco or tobacco products, okay? There's fines, there's school-related consequences, and every school district is different. Of course, there's family consequences and peer consequences. So there's also health consequences like pneumonia, asthma, cardiovascular disease, skin disorders, oral health, disorientation, seizures, hypotension, and others. So not safe at all. So what they are doing is they're trying to determine what chemicals in these products are the ones that are causing the most harm. And some recent research has shown that vitamin E acetate is a chemical that is very much causing lung disease in young people, although there's many more. And popcorn lung, which I alluded to earlier, the diacetyl, which is in microwave popcorn, that it is safe for us to eat at our homes. They determined that people who worked in a popcorn factory with this chemical developed lung problems, and it was called popcorn lung. So it is not unsafe for us to use microwave popcorn at home, but it is unsafe for us to use vaping products with diacetyl in it. And then of course there's safety concerns. These products cause explosions, the charger can explode, there's fires, people can get poisoning, and of course there's hazardous waste litter all over the place. So in marijuana, which we're going to talk to now, it's not just the THC. THC is the active ingredient in marijuana. And the THC of today is not the same THC as when I was a kid. Today it is intentionally grown stronger. So what does that mean? Today's THC can become addictive. Now, just like some people can drink alcohol socially and not become addictive, Some people can use marijuana socially and not become addicted. But because the THC level is so high, it is likely that some people will become addicted. And again, because teens' brains are not fully developed until mid to late 20s, if they start using marijuana at a younger age, it is likely that they can become addicted. Not to say that an older person can't, because they can, but it is more likely with a teen. So THC is the active ingredient, but there's other types of chemicals that people put in vapes, and you're going to hear words like shatter, like wax. These are things that people dab to put in a vape to smoke. Okay, so what can happen if you're using marijuana? Well, people can become intoxicated much quicker than anticipated, and it may not feel pleasant. It might be a very anxious, panicky, afraid feeling, because what happens with the THC of today is it can create and worsen mental health symptoms and make people psychotic. So it's very, very scary. People show up in emergency rooms who have no mental health history, but have had some really negative effects because of marijuana. So what does marijuana do? It clouds your senses and your judgment. Okay, it heightens senses so you see colors more vividly. Sounds might be bolder. It distorts your sense of time. So you could think that 5 minutes have passed when really it's been an hour. It hurts motor skills and makes driving dangerous. So people who drive under the influence may feel that they're very safe and cautious, whereas the police officer behind them may not agree. And marijuana use lowers people's inhibitions. So what happens is they engage in risky behaviors. Okay, that could mean driving problems. It could mean unprotected sex. It could be other types of things which are dangerous. So marijuana also has created a syndrome called cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, CHS. And what this is people show up to emergency rooms with severe abdominal pain, nausea, and vomiting for no medical reason. They do all sorts of invasive testing and find out that nothing's wrong. And the only thing that solves this problem is hot showers. Okay, I'm not making that up. This is a common report. And they don't know why, but somehow taking hot showers alleviates the symptoms. The other way to alleviate the symptom is to stop using marijuana. The longer a person goes without using, the less these symptoms show themselves. So people need to be aware of that. If your teen is complaining of abdominal problem, if you ask a teen or anyone, are you using drugs? They will say no. So a drug test is the only way to test. So THC can be measured on a drug test with a number, and of course, the higher the number, the higher the use. So really important that parents be aware of that before you spend a lot of money on all different types of invasive testing at the hospital. And doctors may or may not know to ask this question. So keep that in the back of your mind. Okay, also marijuana is shown to lower a teen's IQ 8 to 10 points, and it's not reversible. So while their brain is developing and they're hurting their brain and they're hurting their IQ. Also, marijuana smoke contains cancer-causing chemicals. We never hear about that. Okay, we hear that nicotine causes cancer, but we don't hear that marijuana can, but it does. And the other thing is that people don't die from marijuana use. You're going to hear that as an argument. People don't die from it. That may be true. However, they die from behaviors that they engage with under the influence because they're doing risky things. They may not be thinking clearly. Okay, we have to talk about edibles as well. Edibles is marijuana that is baked or infused into other products like cookies, brownies, and candy. So it can be in pop, it can be in ice cream, pasta, soup, I mean, just about anything. And it's not known how much to put in is safe because there's no specific guidelines on that. So the problem with edibles is it takes a longer time to work than smoking it. So someone could have a brownie and nothing happens. So they have another one and nothing happens. and they have another one. And now number 1 kicks in, and number 2 kicks in, and number 3 kicks in, and before you know it, they are very, very high. So it's a very potent way of using a drug. It's very intense, and it depends so much on, the effect depends on the person's height, weight, metabolism, whether they're using it on a full stomach, whether they're dehydrated, and of course, marijuana gives people the munchies, meaning making them hungry, encouraging them to eat more. So it's pretty dangerous. So teen marijuana use, many parents are under the impression that everyone does it. It's a rite of passage. That's what happens with teens. And we know this from confidential anonymous studies that that is not true. Most kids are not using. The problem is the perception is that all kids are using. So if you ask teens about kids in their school, they'll say, yeah, everyone's doing it. Absolutely, everyone's doing it. But that is not true. They only hear about the kids who are doing it because there's consequences. There's suspensions from school. There's medical issues. There's arrests. But the teens who are not doing it, there's nothing to say. You don't hear any stories because there are no stories and life goes on for them. So parents need to understand that this is not a rite of passage. It is dangerous. It is not acceptable. It is against the law for anybody under the age of 21. So don't accept that as an excuse from your kids. So what can parents do? Parents should always greet their kids at the door with a hug, a kiss, and a sniff. Okay? You're looking into their eyes to see, are their pupils dilated or not? Are the whites of their eyes red? Are they diverting your gaze? If they won't look you right in the eye, what are they hiding? And you want to sniff, and you don't want to just smell from alcohol and marijuana and tobacco, but you want to smell for things that cover up those things, like Febreze or mouthwash, perfume, cologne, Lysol sprays, things like that. If you're smelling something that is pretty unusual, there may be a reason why. And I recommend that parents have a drug test at home, and more than one. One that the child knows about, the rest are hidden, so that a parent can then test a child even if they destroy the one that they know about. The one that they know about can be used as a deterrent to their friends. You know, my parents have a drug test at home, they can test me at any time. If they take that one and destroy it and you have other ones hidden, then you still have access. You don't have to run out to the drugstore in the middle of the night. Okay, so what if a person becomes addicted to marijuana? There is help available. There's inpatient and outpatient treatment programs that can help, and Henry Ford Maple Grove has those, inpatient for adults and outpatient for adults and adolescents. So people can get help. It can lead to other addictions as well. So the earlier you get a person help, the better, because early intervention is a key. You may know that marijuana is what we call a gateway drug, and people may start with marijuana and then move on to harder drugs as their addiction progresses. So we want to prevent that from happening. So with that, I will leave you, and thank you for sharing your time with me.
Thank you, Lisa, for your presentation. It was a quick introduction to a subject that requires much more time. We hope the information was helpful for you. For more information on our upcoming video series, please visit our website at www.waterfordyouth.assistance.com.